Young Creatives Chat with Kharn Roberts. To start off the interview, we wanted to get to know you a little bit. So could you tell us 3 things about yourself that if we really knew you, we would know?
I was thinking about this question earlier. One good thing is that I'm always on time for work, but I'm always late to social events, which I have no idea why. It's not because I don't have the utmost respect for my friends, which I do, but I have no idea why that is. But yeah, I'm always on time for work. I'm always late for my friends by like half an hour as well, which isn't great. I'm trying to think of 2 other things. I have a really bad sweet tooth, so I eat way too many sweets. It's literally a burden, especially on set as well. Like quite often they put out like biscuits and sweets like on the side to be like, if you're hungry before lunch, eat this. And most people ignore it because they don't want to eat way too many sweets. But I will be at that table like at 9:30 eating like 4 Kit Kats, which is really not good for you. A third thing, I don't know really. That people, my friends know about me that, I don't know, I might have to come back to that one. I'm stuck on that one. Can't think of 3. Sorry, guys.
Okay, that's fine, don't worry. I have to say I'm exactly the same as you with sweet food though. I find it very difficult to resist.
It's so annoying. Some people don't have a sweet tooth and I'm so jealous of that. People are like, no, I'm okay, thanks. I don't want sweets. Me, I like have to actively like go nowhere near them. It's a nightmare.
Same.
How did you know that this career was for you?
I think it's when I went to the Arts Institute at Bournemouth. I studied photography. And during my time there, I met some like really, really great people. I think like uni's great for pushing out of your sort of like, you know, wherever you live at home, your situation, everybody's situation is different. Everyone's is completely different. And you're taking all of these different people from all of these different places all over the country. Well, actually, a lot of the time all over the world, especially with international students, and you're putting them all together, forcing them to live together in houses. And that's really, really good for realizing that, you know, even the bubbles we live in are so small, whether that be family or like friends and your town. So when you go to that, you meet a lot of interesting people, and it's really like, it's, you know, it's great. It's great sort of for your brain stimulus to meet new people and discover new things about them and yourself. So yeah, I met some really, really great people at university. And then we all decided that we were going to get into doing video. Fortunately, at a time when cameras came out that were yeah, sort of a lot cheaper, and you could do really good things with them. So that was, you know, I'm quite old now, so that was back in graduate 2012. But yeah, so I think it was kind of like a natural progression. We started filming stuff like that and built it up slowly, and then yeah, it's kind of like if you keep pressure on and you keep doing little bits, then you sort of build up to being able to do a lot of decent stuff that you, yeah, when I was younger, I would never have thought I'd have been doing the jobs I'm doing now, which is pretty cool. Yeah, don't really have time to stop and think and look back at it too much, except for maybe right now. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Moving on, what has been the most challenging aspect of your career?
I think just it sounds really cliche to say, but learning to accept failure, that it's not all like, you know, butterflies and rainbows, and it's not like this like amazing job. I mean, it is an amazing job. I do love my job and I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And I know I'm really fortunate in that sense. But that you do have to have that constant drive of yourself. And that's like, you know, it's accumulation of lots of different things. It's following like your passion for what you really want to do, but also when stuff's going really badly, and I mean like you could have, you know, there's no end to like how rubbish it could be for how long. Like when I first moved up to London, and I was working in a pub in Ealing, and I hated all of the staff. We didn't get on at all, and I was working there for about 6 months, and I was thinking, am I ever going to do what I want to do? Like, so looking back at that and thinking, you know, when I first managed to get my first break to work in a photographic studio in Notting Hill, it was like, yeah, you have to keep the pressure on yourself. don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I suppose with every low then, from public healing, what's been your highlight of your career?
There's been so many good highlights actually. One really good one was we did a job for Sony Music, a video for an artist called The Beach called Bite My Tongue, with friends and colleagues of mine, a guy called Ben Simmons and a guy called Tobias Ross Southall, who's a really good director. You should check him out. We went out there and it was so good. It was like really hot weather. Everything was paid for. Like all the food was paid for. Like we were having such a good time, and we were getting paid to do it. And it was like a really nice realization of like, oh, this is really cool. Like if I can do this for work, I basically feel like I'm on holiday and I'm filming, which is what I love to do. So it's like, you know, there's loads of things like that. And also just like going to different places. I think just going to different places in the world, like going to different places like Switzerland or Italy, or places that I probably wouldn't have gone, that I've only gone for work. So there's definitely some really good highlights. And yeah, just getting into decent situations which I wouldn't have otherwise been in, which is really cool.
Sounds pretty mega.
I think that one thing a lot of creative people experience are creative blocks. So have you ever experienced a creative block, and how have you overcome it?
I think for me, because a large area of my work is commercial, I think that creativity does and doesn't affect it. So for example, like, yeah, if there's a music video that we're working on, or say like someone comes and says, here's this track, we want you guys to make a music video, that can be really difficult with a creative block. And I always find like, listen to the song once and you kind of get an idea. If you don't get that initial first idea, it's quite hard sometimes to get something for that, and that's okay. Like some things aren't suited to some people. Like, so for me, there might be a song that comes through, we listen to it, and we just can't get any ideas for it. And you just kind of have to go, I'm sorry, I don't have anything for that particular song. But, you know, in terms of like commercial stuff, I think like a lot of people might think my job's extremely creative. It can be, but there's also a huge commercial side to it, which is doing videos for like brands, or, you know, sportswear brands or beauty brands and all that sort of thing. So with that, it's the creativity isn't actually down to me. Like I'll work with an agency or like PR companies, and they'll already have an idea of what they want. They'll be like, what we want in this film is to convey this. We want it to look like this. They might even be like, this is the location you're shooting in, and these are the models you're shooting with. So it does vary quite a lot. So yeah, creative blocks are difficult, but I think don't be too hard on yourself. Like creativity doesn't thrive when you're stifled. Creativity thrives when you are in a relaxed state and you don't have lots on. And especially for like guys your age, like going through that education process, there is always that pressure on. So like you kind of have to just, there's a fine line between you have to not be too hard on yourself, but you have to keep the pressure on. And it's really hard to work out where that is. That's the trouble with creativity and you know, creative topics, because if you're being too hard on yourself, you just start to feel down and depressed and rubbish, and then you don't feel like you're doing enough, and then that's a spiraling ball of, you know, getting in a terrible place in your head, etc. But if you don't keep the pressure on, then you're going to fall back and you're not going to be achieving your true potential, and you're going to say, oh, it's because, you know, it's because I've got a creative block, or I don't have any ideas. It's like, well, no, because you kind of have to apply yourself to be able to keep that up. So it's, yeah, does that make sense, finding that balance between the two things?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Looking at the situation of the past year, how has COVID-19 affected the way you've been working?
Really good question. Yeah, it's massively affected the whole video industry. So I mean, obviously I speak to like other directors and DOPs and people that work in the same sort of field, and some people are still working quite a lot, and some people are working not at all. I think there was the initial scare, but productions are learning to sort of work around it. So you've kind of got obviously people are wearing masks now on set and doing more social distancing. I moved into doing a lot more live streaming, which I don't like absolutely love doing, to be honest, just because I like crafting videos and making them look really nice, whereas obviously, for example, like the quality of this is not as nice as it could be if you've got like a really good camera and shooting it really nicely, and you can't color grade it and you can't necessarily light it as well as you'd like to. So yeah, you just adapt, really. I think that's another really important thing, is any creative subject, everything's always adapting and changing. So you guys will be speaking to me and speaking to other people, and they'll tell you how they've done things and gotten into things, but actually in the reality, when you guys come to do it, it's going to be completely different. I mean, there's a huge thing at the moment. For example, I don't know if you guys are aware of NFTs, like the NFT art, which is like digital art on like, yeah, it might be worth writing down. Yeah, I see you.
Yeah, I actually read an article on that earlier today. So
so that's a prime example of something where it's something that's new, it's different, it's really sort of uncharted territory. It may just sort of be a bubble thing that doesn't turn into anything, or it might be down the line when you guys are working as professionals, which I'm sure you will be if that's what you want to do, is that might be a huge part of the industry. Is that we just don't know yet. So everything changes so quickly. So what worked for me won't work for you guys necessarily. It might do, but you know, it changes so rapidly. It's always ever evolving because it's everything, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really interesting way to not only look about how having to adapt to work within the current situation, but also thinking about this is how the creative industry is. We keep on adapting to the future and stuff. So
100%,
it's a really interesting way to think about it.
100%, yeah, and that's part of being creative as well. Is you're finding new ways of doing things. That's the whole point of creativity, right?
Yeah.
Could you share 3 tips for sparking creativity?
For sparking creativity, I mean, that's a difficult one, really. I think it's different for every you know, I think it's different for different people. I mean, for me, for video, I like a really cliche thing that I always do is just like, I have to be really, really relaxed if I'm trying to think about an idea. So whether that be like going for a walk or doing some exercise or meditating or whatever that is, you know, to get yourself in that headspace. Like listening to music, listening to tracks for music videos. I always do this really lame thing where I close my eyes and really try and visualize what's the first thing that comes to my head visually listening to this song. But yeah, lots of people do different things, I suppose. I think creativity is an interesting thing in the sense that it's not really something you like switch on and off. It's like you kind of like train and you kind of hone and you kind of get used to being creative as a person. And that should be like not just when you're working, like every day. Like you can tell creative people from non-creative people a lot of the time. They might, you know, dress slightly different, or they do different things that, like, you know, maybe talk in a certain way, or, you know, have different mannerisms and interact in different ways and ask different questions. It's about sort of like, you know, you're creative, you're creating, you're not copying, you're trying to find your own kind of way in a sense.
Did you ever have a point where you felt like you were just copying other people?
I think so. Yeah, it's an interesting question because, like, what is truly original anymore? You know, when you think about even the way that our imagination works and the way that we develop and come up with ideas, a lot of the time, if you think of an idea and you then jump on Google and you type in that idea, you'll probably find something. So but that I remember when I was a student, I used to do that. I used to, especially at university, I'd have an idea for a piece of art or something I wanted to make, a sculpture or something different, not photographic. And then I would look it up and do some research into it and find almost an identical piece. I think don't be put off by that, because the whole process of you doing it personally, it will come out different. So if you have an idea that you think is original and then you go for it, you will find that your end product won't be the same as the thing that you thought you might be copying. I think it's important to not directly copy things, but you can take inspiration. I mean, a good example is if you were to get together a mood board for a fashion film, it wouldn't be unlikely for them to say, they have a whole document and they'd say, we really like the lighting in this Balenciaga shoot, but we also, you know, we also really like this location in this, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another brand, you know, in this other brand's shoot. So people do copy things in the creative industries. That's not creativity, but it does happen in the creative industries, if that makes sense. It's quite a common thing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Thank you.
Cheers.
So have you got any projects that you're working on or that are in the pipeline that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so I've got a music video to make for an artist called Kashino, really cool guy, a producer from London. So I've got a really wacky music video that we're going to be making. I don't know how much of this is going to go on socials. I don't know how much of the idea to give away. But yeah, we're going to be making a really cool music video, which is going to be, it's going to be like quite a, it's going to be a testing one in terms of like, it's something that it's an idea that I've always kind of wanted to, you know, wanted to try a really, really creative, intense idea. And it's going to require a lot of work, but I think the end product's going to be really, really good. And I'm really looking forward to having like full creative control over that. Then yeah, I've done some like commercial stuff for a company called The Hair Consult, which is like a lot of work that I do, or like that we do with like the guys that I work with, is it's super commercial. So I'd say like 70% isn't the fun like music video stuff. It'll be like you know, making like YouTube videos or how-to videos, or filming an event, or you know, it's something that's like not as interesting. It doesn't sound as interesting, but it's weighing up the what's creative / what pays the bills. So you have to be business minded as well, right? You can't, if you you know, some people are fortunate enough to be able to just do the creative jobs, but unfortunately I don't have the money or the time to just do that. So it's about finding that balance. And I think that's one of the key pieces of advice I could give, is that if you want to work in the creative industries, and you want to be completely self-sufficient, as in i.e. Like earning your own money and doing your own thing, it's really important to be business minded about it. So you need to be realistic about, you know, my decision was, if I want to do this, I have to have a certain amount of commercial work in order for it to work. Otherwise it's not plausible. And the alternative is me staying in that pub in Ealing and working there for like 4 days a week, and then having 2 days where I'm doing video, which is just not enough. So, you know, you sort of have to weigh up, you know, what's going on in your life and make it work for you in a business sense, so that you can pay rent and all the rest of it, you know.
Do you feel as though you've, like, for example, the introduction of like epic film and all of that, the way, like, do you ever feel as though you're like it's kind of I don't know, perhaps like having to be kind of maybe submissive to the commercial industry? Do you ever feel as though like you lose your passion for the thing because it kind of becomes quite synthetic or something like that? I don't know.
That's a really good question. I would say personally for me, no. Like I enjoy the commercial work that I do. I think there's a big stigma behind being like, oh, you don't want to be doing commercial work. But for me, I'm in a studio a lot of the time with people that I enjoy working with, you know, and there's a lot of great people that work in the industry. There's a lot of horrible people, but I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded and have made it my target to surround myself around decent people, so that I, you know, have a good, you know, work day. And no, I think it's fine. I think if you know, if you get to a stage where you can choose the jobs that you want to do, then that's great. Obviously at the beginning you have to do like a few more jobs that, like, you know, or that's not going to be very much money, it's going to be a lot of work, but that would be great to get that job, you know, because it'll be a good experience to me. I think a really good thing to weigh up is what is that going to benefit for you? Is it going to give you money, or is it going to heighten your creativity and your artistic self? So it's like, I think you've got to weigh up when you're going to do something. For example, if someone says, oh, come and do this job, it'll be good for your portfolio. If you don't think it is going to be good for your portfolio, don't do it. You know. So but if it is, on the other hand, that's your call, and if it's going to be helpful for you, you should do it. Yeah, I think everybody to a sense does a certain amount of commercial work. I mean, of course, like there are people that don't do commercial work, but it's very rare. I don't know anyone personally that doesn't do commercial work on the side. And for example, the stuff that you will see on Instagram on people's websites won't be the commercial work or the as commercial work. So what you might see of what people present to you isn't necessarily the only thing that they're doing. Like if you think about some people, like maybe your favorite like fashion designers or artists or people, if you look at like how much work that they've done, they probably put out like, I don't know, like some people that are really busy, like 8 to 10 pieces a year. Now, you know, you do more than 10 pieces of work in a year. That's what I'm saying. And they're not probably sitting around like twiddling their thumbs for the rest of the year. They're probably doing commercial work. So yeah. But yeah, I don't think you should be put off by commercial work. I think it's great because you still get better at what you do. I mean, the word commercial pretty much just means getting paid for it, which is important.
Yeah, no, I see that. Thank you so much for that.